Right, so hello everybody and welcome to today's video. So in today's video we are getting these bales ready for feeding tomorrow. So I do always do it the day before. Sorry if the sun is dazzling you. It's not only dazzling you, it's dazzling me quite badly. But yeah, we'll get them ready the day before. But in today's video we're going to discuss on actually how much silage have we got left, because all the stock are in now. So how much silage we've got left, how much it costs to make each bale of silage, because people always say, people always tell me, saying, bale silage is more expensive than clamp, but is it? Because obviously you're using a lot more plastic. And will we actually have enough silage to last us through the winter? Which, to my reckoning last week, we were going to run out on about the 15th of March. But we'll go through the sums and work it out. So at the minute, we're feeding roughly between 9 and 12 bales of first cut silage a day. And James is feeding, James feeds them at night, the milk cows, again. And he normally feeds about 6 bales of third cut at the minute. But we'll put second and third cut in the same group, if that makes sense. Because when he's finished third cut, we'll feed, we'll go on to feeding second cut, because there isn't as much of that as there is first cut. So when I've just finished this, we'll do a count up and we'll see how much silage we've actually got. But yeah, James, like I say, James is feeding 6 bales of third cut a day, and I'm feeding between 9 and 12 first cut. So they always get first cut in the morning and third cut at night. That's how the way we work it. And then all the young stock and dry cows have first cut silage. But yeah, we'll finish this off and then we'll catch up later. So stay tuned for the end of this video, because you are going to find out on how much it has cost us to produce each bale of silage this year. And that'll be quite interesting to find out, won't it? So make sure you stay to the end of the video, because you'll find out how much it'll cost per bale, and that'll include everything: diesel, fertiliser, slurry, everything you can imagine I've put into these figures. But by my reckoning, we've made us way through approximately 500 bales of this year's first cut silage. So we are currently feeding, like I say, between 9 and 12 bales of first cut every day. So if we do 9 plus 12 and halve it, that gives us 10.5 is the average on how many bales we're using a day. Roughly, this is a very rough figure, by the way, not spot on, but it is quite hard to work it out spot on. Well, nearly impossible, because it's changing all the time on how much we're feeding. So it depends on the dry matter of the silage. That's the main factor. How many cows we're milking. We've culled 4 cows this morning, so that will help. The cows will eat a bit less. But roughly, that works out. We've got about 1,300 bales of first cut left. So 1,300 divided by 10.5, and you get a figure of about 123 days roughly. 123 days, divide that by the number of days in a month. Average for the next 4 months, it gives you about 4 months worth of silage. So about 15th, by my reckoning, about 15th of March, we're going to run out of silage. which is not good at all. We're like I say earlier in this video, we aim for the first week of May roughly to have enough for then, because then we've got the cows going out normally about 2nd or 3rd week of April. Keep them in at night, but the demand drops all of a sudden, and then you can keep these young stock in, and dry cows normally it's about the beginning of May, and then turn them out. Right, so the old big question, how much does it cost, did it cost us this year to make round bale silage? Right, so we're going to start at the top. I've got it all on my phone. I will put screenshots on the video if I can do it, like an overlay, if you know what I mean. But we'll start off with the cost of getting the grass growing. So this wouldn't matter if it was bales or clamp silage, because I'm going to split it into 2 lots. This is, you know, you'd still have to pay this if you had a silage clamp. We'll start with the first one, which is fertiliser. So we average price, the approximate average price we paid for fertiliser this year was £350 a tonne. Right, and we used 63.6 tonnes of fertiliser this year. But we took 12 tonnes of that, went onto pasture for grazing ground. So we can forget about that. So take 12 tonne off, because there's 51.6 tonnes used for silage making. So times that by 350 and you get about 18 grand. Divide that by the amount of bales and we get roughly £6 and 2 pence per bale. So the approximate figure is £6 and 2 pence. There is a bit of leeway in that. We varied in price with the fertiliser. There's a lot of variables involved in this. I would like to just point that out now. Second one, so we'll move on from fertiliser. So that's a big cost of fertiliser, £6 something a bale just to get the grass growing, just on fertiliser. So if we were organic, we wouldn't have that, but you would have a serious big drop in crop because of that. So move on to the next one, slurry. Right, averaged roughly, I can't work it out, I can't guarantee these figures are correct, but they are pretty much within reason, like a couple of digits. So the average, we use 2.5 litres of diesel per load of slurry spread. That's for spreading only. Now it's quite hard to work this one out as well. The average for mixing slurry. Now that's really hard to work out again because there's so many variables involved. But I've worked it out approximately half a litre of diesel per load for mixing. I think that's fair enough to put that. So it takes years to 3 litres of diesel per load of slurry. It's obviously a lot of variables involved, like I need to point out. I need to make that very clear because it depends on how far you're ferrying slurry, how far you're carting it away, etc, etc. So it works out, and this is again approximate figure. Fair, I've put 70p a litre for diesel average, which takes us about £2 per acre for spreading slurry, roughly. And we averaged first cut 7 bales to the acre this year. So 7 bales to the acre, which works out about 30 something p per bale. Right, so that takes us to like £6.30 something per bale. Bale wrap. Now on to the silage making. Bale wrap, £55 a roll. 32 bales we get out of each roll. You get £1.71 per bale. Net wrap. It varied a lot because you're obviously altering how much net wrap you're putting onto each bale with each cut. So the drier silage that we made during the first cut, we put less net wrap on. And obviously the wetter third cut, we were putting twice as much on. So I've averaged it at £2 a bale. I think that's fair enough. So £2 a bale. First cut you were down to like just 80p a bale. But third cut you were absolutely banging the net wrap on just to make the bales hold. So yeah, I've put an average of £2 a bale, which I think is fair enough. Diesel to harvest, right. So again, very approximate figures. We are not just using diesel to make silage during the summer months. We're using diesel to feed the cows. When you scrape them out, fetching them back. You're still using diesel for other jobs on the farm other than silage making. So it's, again, approximate figures. I've put 3,000 litres of diesel to do first cut. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Works out that about £1.21 a bale. You know, I think that's a fair figure to assume. You know, I don't think it'll be that far wrong. So, go on to the next job. We only get a contractor to come and help us with one job when we're silaging, and that is raking, because we don't have his own rake. It would make it a big difference if we had his own rake, because it'd be a big cost we would then absorb. You obviously got the cost of buying the machine, but then you're not paying the contractor to come all the time. So over time it'd pay for itself. But I need to include they cost, because we don't actually have a rake, so I need to include that in. And that works out at about £1.46 a bale. Now, this is where things get a little bit complicated. We own most of our ground, but we rent 52 acres of ground that we use for silaging. So I've included the cost of rent and split it across the silage making, because you know, we're renting the ground to make silage. But I've assumed that we are renting all the ground just to make it simpler, because it would get too complicated if I didn't. And in theory, you know, you have to include the value of the land into their equation. So I think the rent value is quite important to include. So, because we could get the income back if we weren't farming, we could rent our ground out and draw whatever we're paying for rent. So you need to, if you catch what I'm throwing here, if like a loss of income if we didn't use it for silaging, we could rent it out, and if that makes sense. But sorry if that doesn't. But anyway, it works out at about £5.88 a bale to pay the rent. So we pay the rent, and we're getting it's costing us £5.88 in bales to get the silage baled just in rent. So we add all them figures we put together. Oh, we've got another the cost of disposal of plastic. So when you've fed your silage in the winter, you have bale wrap to dispose of. The bale wrap needs to be disposed of, and it costs money. So I've put an approximate figure. We last had a skip, and I think it was like £400 or £500 roughly for the skip, and we must have got about 500 bales worth of bale wrap in that. It had a lot of wrap in it when it went. So I've put an approximate figure of £1 per bale. I think that's fair enough. So that takes us figure to about just under £20, £19.60 a bale. Right. Now, it's all well and good saying, you know, oh, it's costing X, Y, and Z, but it is actually costing us money, this. So that £19.60 a bale, and we did roughly, we made about 3,000 bales, didn't we? So roughly, that is how much it's cost for us to make our silage this year. £58,800. That's a lot of money. So, but we need to, if we take off what it costs to grow the grass, which was the slurry and the fertiliser, we'll take that off and we'll see what we get to. So without the fertiliser and the slurry cost, the cost of making the grass grow, we get a figure of £13.34 per bale, which I think that's quite fair, to be honest with you. But we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look at, what if we didn't make bale silage? What if we had a silage clamp? Now then, this is where things get interesting, because I don't actually know what figures contractors are working off, but we've used the power of Google to help me come up with the figures. So we've typed in Google national figures for contractors and to see what comes up, and then we've worked out an average off that. Well, what's the national average cost of contractors? So I don't know where Google gets their figures from, but we did put national national average of figures for contractors UK in, and it's come up with some figures, so we're going to use that. Use that as our guide in this. So, like again, approximate figures. So, the cost of a self-propelled forage harvester to come per day, well, scrap that. The average self-propelled harvester's output is about 5 to 6 acres an hour. That's what Google's told me, so we're going to go with that. And the average cost is 50 to 111 litres per diesel per hour, which is quite a lot of diesel, if I would quite say so myself. Anyway, we did 260 acres of first cut this year. So average 5.5 acres per hour, which I think is fair, would take us 47 hours to silage, to forage harvest, which sounds about right. So the average cost is £107.50 an hour for a forage harvester. So that works out just over £5,000 for forage harvesting of 260 acres, which, you know, in fairness, they are using a lot of diesel, they are precision chopping the grass, and it is taking them 47 hours to do it, so, you know, it sounds a fair figure that. So you want you'd want 3 trailers carting at least. The ground around the farm, yes, you could probably get away with 2. The ground away from farm, you probably want 4, but I've averaged 3. If you want average 3 carters going, they're approximately, what have we got? The average was £50 an hour for carting. So you want 3 of that, it's £150 an hour for 3 of them. That gets you to £7 grand? So £7 for carting. Then butt raking. Butt raking, apparently, this is what come up when I searched national average of butt raking silage for contractors, what the cost is. It come up with a picture of a loading shovel on a silage clamp, and it said approximate figures about £60 an hour. Approximate. So that's what Google's told me. So £60 an hour for butt raking works out about just short of £3,000. So we're about just short of 15,000 to pay a contractor to come and do the silaging. Obviously, could own your own kit. We do own our own kit for making round bale silage, so it's not really a fair comparison, because it's not like we're paying a contractor to do as bale silage and comparing contractor costs for bale silage and forage harvesting. But I'm working with what I've got here. So we averaged first cut. Now, this does seem a bit on the low side. It was 4.9 tonnes per acre approximately, if I'm guessing that each bale's around 700 kilo mark. So if I'm guessing 7 bales to the acre at 700 kilos works out 4.9 tonnes per acre, which does sound a little bit on the low side, fair enough. But it were quite high dry matter stuff, which, in fairness, wouldn't have made very good silage in a clamp, because dry silage in a clamp would go off quite badly. It's not good stuff to compact dry stuff. Wetter stuff in a clamp compacts better. So obviously dry stuff wouldn't have made very good. Our first cut wouldn't have made good silage in a pit anyway. Change on from that, silage sheets. I've tried to work out best I can. This was with side sheeting and the sheet on top. It was approximately £3,000 it worked it out at. So that was £3,000. You've averaged, just for the contractor, it was nearly £12 a tonne to make the silage for a contractor. That's just paying the contractor. That doesn't even include their obviously fertiliser cost. So you got nearly £12 a tonne. Obviously, then add the cost of the silage sheets on top. It was over 14 quid. So £14 a tonne for silage making with a forage for making a silage clamp. Now, compare that to the cost of a bale. ourselves, without the cost of the fertiliser and everything, was about £13.34, which doesn't, there isn't much in it. Right, I would just like to add in this now that I've actually got the costs wrong, because what I've done is I've not incorporated the rent cost of the land into the self-propelled, the clamp silage costing. So to compensate that, we're going to take £5.88 off the £13 whatever it was to make it comparable with the round bale silage. So £13 a bale including rent, £7.46 without rent. So compare £7.46 per bale with £14 a tonne for clamp silage. My mistake, I've actually edited the video and realised that I've not compensated that into the clamp silage costing. And I know that I've already said that we own most of our ground, we don't rent it, but I've included the rent cost on all the grounds because you've got the potential there to, if we weren't making silage of it, if we weren't farming grounds, that you could draw an income from renting it. So I've incorporated that cost across the whole lot. Here's the good bit. This is all the good bit. Sorry, it's been a long day. The national average was, this is what I put into Google, what's the national average of waste / spoilage on a silage clamp? Right, this is what Google's told me. The national average is 25 to 40% waste / spoilage of unfeedable silage in a silage clamp. That's quite a lot of waste. Right, now I've put the same question into Google, national average of waste with bale silage, and it's come up under 7%. So, I'm not, I am a bit biased because I've got Bales, but that's what Google has told me. So, Google is what it is at the end of the day, take it or leave it, but I don't think I could do with 25 to 40% waste of / spoilage of silage being wasted all the time. And the big important thing here is a bale is fresh until the day you open it. Now, fair enough, one of my last videos was a bale I was putting on the mucky because it got a hole in it. But like I said in that video, last year I think we had 2, maybe 3 bales like that out of about 5,000. So if we had 3,000 bales this year and I only get 2 bales like that, I'll be alright with that. But you do get some bales that have had a little hole in, you've stacked it, it's got a little air hole in, or a bird's pecked it from the top, and you open it and it's got a little patch of white mould on it. What we do is normally we just feed it to the cows, and whatever's left in the ring at the bottom, put it on a muck heap. It's very rarely that we actually get a bale that we chuck the whole lot on the muck heap because it's gone off, it's gone rotten, like that bale was. But actually, there wasn't actually as much waste as I actually thought there were going to be on that bale. For us, on our system, bales work better at the minute. We can open, the bale stays fresh, it's ensiled in a plastic bag basically, until the day you open it, an airtight plastic bag until the day you open it, the day you feed it. And to me, that's worth a lot. Whereas a silage clamp, I haven't got anywhere, I'd need a bloody big clamp for all them bales. That's one big thing. I'd have to build a clamp. We did actually, touching another subject here, I had a visit from the Environmental Agency back in the spring, and they didn't batter an eyelid at the round bales. And I know for a fact if we had a silage clamp, they would have been all over that. They would want to check your drainage, you'd check your sidewalls and everything. Whereas with bales, they don't really care about bale, don't really give 2 monkeys about the bale silage. As long as you're not burning their bale wrap, they're not really that bothered about it. But the cost of building a proper silage pit, a proper silage clamp, would be extraordinary. I'm not going to even put figures on this, but you're talking tens of thousands of pounds easy to build a pit right that would meet regulation standards. Whereas bales, you can pretty much stack them anywhere. and no one really cares too much about it as long as you're well, stacking them on your own ground and not burning the plastic. Well, anyway, hope that's a little insight for you all. Hope that explains the costing behind making bale silage, because it does cost something. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I did work out some figures last year about it, and they were on the pretty low side, but I didn't include cost of disposal of the wrap. I didn't even include the cost of fertiliser and slurry to get the grass growing. But like I do say is, and I've made very clear, even if we had a clamp, we still, you know, you've still got that cost. So that cost doesn't go away just because you've got a clamp. It's still there, the cost of the fertiliser and the slurry. And even if you weren't using it to make silage grow slurry, you'd still need to get rid of it. You can't just store it up and hope it goes away. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little insight video. But like I did touch on earlier, we are going to be a little bit tight on silage this year. But currently, I've worked out, first cut, we've got about enough for 120 something days. As of today, which is the 25th of November, which takes us to about the 15th of March, which I'm hoping they're going to slow down in eating at the minute, because all the stock are in now, like I've said earlier on. But James's silage, well, the silage that he feeds at night, so how it works is, first cut, I feed that in the morning, everything gets first cut, milk cows gets first cut, dry cows get first cut, heifers, young stock, everything gets first cut silage in the morning. At night, the milk cows are the only things that need feeding again. While I'm milking, James feeds them third cut silage. When he runs out of third cut, because that's not going to last forever because there isn't as much as that, he'll go on to feeding second cut. And then also dry cows have 2 bales again at night. So I've worked out we're about 9 to 12 bales of first cut a day. It does vary quite a bit. So he's feeding 6 bales of third cut. He's got enough for about nearly 7 months. So I think what we're going to end up having to do is feed, nearly 7 months approximately. Feed some third cuts and second cuts instead of first cuts to the milk cows soon. But it's just the third cut at the minute. It's quite wet. Well, it's not quite wet. It's very low quality. I don't want to give that and the milk drops. It has an effect on the milk, but it shouldn't do, I don't think. But we'll have to experiment a little bit with it. But anyway, enough of me waffling on. Have we got enough silage? Touch and go. But hopefully you've enjoyed it, so please give it a thumbs up if you have, and please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, please, because it does help me out, along with the thumbs up and everything. And thank you all to all the new followers I've gained recently. But anyway, for now, enough of me waffling on. I'll see you. Bye. So, well, I'll just come here. Hopefully you can see me. It is dark now. It is in the evening. Also, I would just like to point in the video now, all those figures in my costing, if you don't agree with them, that's totally fine. I've literally tried my best I can with those figures, especially the cost of making clamp silage. I've just used Google to use that to get me those figures. If you want to disagree with them figures, that's totally fine. Put it in the comments below. Try not to get too nasty with it or say, oh, you've got it all wrong. Because I have literally tried my best with this. It's, you know, especially for someone that doesn't make clamp silage. But anyway, if you obviously want to make a comment in the comment section, please do. Just please be considerate and think, well, actually, William has actually tried his best here to try and get these figures as close as I can to what I can get, if that makes sense. But anyway.